All right, hi, this is Dan Henk, and this is my second interview with Collin Martin of the Horrific Podcast. What's up, Carl? What's up?
Hi Dan, thanks for having me back, mate. Good to see you again.
Let's talk about your new anthology that's coming out that I have a story in.
Yes, actually, funny story behind that because you'd actually submitted for Horrific Tales Volume 3, the previous one.
Right.
And the thing is, I have the first 10, penned out and I know what the themes are. I
Okay.
read your story, I'm like, nah, that's perfect for Volume 4. I would have felt bad putting it in Volume 3 and then asking again for Volume 4 when you. So if you remember, I emailed you, like, this is a funny one.
Well,
Volume
I
4.
would have done both, by the way, because I love doing Lovecraft stuff. So like whenever I can sneak in cosmic horror, even if I know the last theme was a serial killer. So if you notice a lot of it is cosmic horror with a serial killer in it.
Yep.
So yeah, I would be up for that. But yeah,
Well, I had absolutely tons of submissions, great ones as well for Volume 3.
okay.
And I just thought to myself, there were stories that I'd want to like kick out, if that makes sense.
Right,
And
right.
I'd have read it and like, oh, this is 100% Eldritch Terror, which is the title of the fourth anthology. I'm like, yes, mate. How about this? You know what I mean? I'm accepting it, but not for this one, but for the next one I'm doing because I've
Right,
got these
right,
all sort of planned out.
right.
And you were happy enough to do it, so I'm like, sweet. That
Yeah, well, I love doing Lovecraft stuff. So let's talk about a little bit about your podcast and a little bit about your anthologies. Like, what do you have going on? How do you arrange them? How do you progress? Like, let me know a little bit of the what's behind it.
so the podcast obviously just crossed its 5 year anniversary, and it's going from strength to strength. Like we've got more subscribers coming on. We passed, I think we're at the 12K now or 1200 subscribers. So it's gone up and up. More people coming on board. The chat's getting busier. But the whole point is to cover all aspects of horror.
Okay.
So a lot of podcasts might just do the one thing, or focus on slashers or focus on like a specific subgenre of horror. I want to try and like even expand my own mind because it's easy to get into your comfort zone.
Right.
So I want to expose myself to new types as well, not just the older ones, but new things coming out as well. So it's not getting sort of caught in a bubble. I just chat with people about it. So I've got my co-hosts, got guests that come on, we'll do a bit of gaming as well. So a bit of horror game role playing as well goes on, and video gaming now and again. So it's just a whole mix. Not just movies, we talk about books as well and
So
other
all
things.
genres of horror you cover, like
Yeah, just anything to
whatever.
do with horror.
Okay. And how long have you been going?
5 years now.
Nice, nice. So was it like a slow build up? 'Cause I noticed with my podcast, like I pretty much cover horror as well, but I just say I cover the dark arts. So it's like, it could be an illustrator, it could be a musician, it could be a writer, it could be a filmmaker, whatever. But I think I've been going for about 2.5 years now.
Mhm.
And I remember a whole bunch of people signed up, and then it's been like kind of a slow trickle since then. It's been constantly going up. It's been a slow trickle. Has it been kind of the same for you?
Yeah, and at one point, last year, around about July, August time, it came to complete standstill. I mean, no movement on the dial, up or down.
Right.
And I sort of go by the fact that, right, if you're making bad content and people don't like you, then they would unsubscribe to switch off. But so I
Okay.
wasn't even getting that. So, yourself, your first thing is, what am I doing wrong? That's your first thought. Oh,
Right.
God, people hate what I do. Um, but the fact
Or
that
maybe they
Dell
got
didn't move at
bored
all,
and they moved on. It's
yeah,
hard to tell.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you don't, unless people are like specifically telling you, and not trolls. I mean, actual people saying, "Oh, I don't like us anymore," or blah blah blah. You have absolutely no rage. You're sort of flying in the wind. But yeah, that period just no movement, and then you find out screwy stuff's going on with algorithms and games are being played in the background. You're sort of like, "Ah, for God's sake, what the hell?"
Right.
But you just stick at it, and stay true to yourself. If you're not interested in what you're talking about, that'll come across.
Right.
So you got to be interested in what you're doing. It's not about, don't worry about the clicks and the likes and stuff, because then I found September time, I started kicking up again. So
Right.
more people got interested. And now we're going like a couple of hundred subscribers in like a month, So it jumps up again and then it'll probably peter out and go to a standstill. Um, I try not to look too much into it.
Okay.
because if you do, that taints what you're actually producing, because you're worrying about the algorithm, you're worrying about trends, you're worrying about this and that, and not just making the content that you make.
You want to shout out to everybody what your podcast is called?
All right, so it's called the Horrific Podcast,
Okay.
and like I said, but then it's all sorts. Do interviews as well, do narrated fiction, which is actually what spawned the publishing company from, because that's originally what we did was independent authors we featured their stories.
Okay.
So there was also, there's maybe people that never any inclination of getting published, maybe wanted to feature a short story. So we did that. So that segment's been going on as well as long as the podcast. It's all split into different segments. So if you like a particular segment, you can get, if you watch those, then the algorithm will recommend you those type. If you're not interested in maybe the interviews, that's fine. You probably won't see that. It's just split into each of its own segments so that the algorithm can pick and choose what you're interested in. And
Did
that's
you
kind of way I
start
like to
the
do it.
podcast before you started the anthologies?
Oh yeah, because Horrific Publishing's only been going for a year now.
Okay.
So the first anthology was ended actually not even a year.
Okay.
24th of December 2024 is when we released Horrific Tales Volume 1.
Okay.
And then we just kept
What's the
going from
response
there.
been so far?
So far, very positive. Like the authors get involved. Every time we do a release, we'll have a celebration stream, so people come on. That's one thing I'm trying to offer, is rather than just being another faceless entity out there, is people can get to actually meet the authors and talk to them, because we'll have the celebration stream. People can come on if sorry doing a formal interview, but some people aren't up for that, so maybe just come on and do a movie review. So I've always got that open to bring people on now and again. So you get to actually meet the author behind the work. We get to talk about
Have you had
thoughts
all
behind
the
it.
authors in your anthologies on the podcast?
Pretty much, yeah. There's maybe one or two haven't
Right.
come on,
No,
but out of
I do the same thing. Like when I put it on anthology, I try to get
mm,
every author up on the podcast. I'm like, if they're not up, I'm like, you're one of the few people I don't have in the podcast. So like try and get them up.
mm. Yeah, that's the thing, because it's all promotion at the end of the day, and it gets them out there. And I think authors need to realize that you can't be passive. You have
Right.
to actually promote yourself. So I try to use both. I mean, it's about the horror brand as a whole, as opposed to like separate little entities. And it's all about promoting independent creators.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll cover some of the Hollywood films and that, but at the same time, I've no excitement for them. I like to hear about indie projects. I like to actually talk to the people involved, and get their reading things, and then they will talk about horror movies or books and that, and then we'll usually find out we've more in common than not. That's usually the way it works.
Do you like to do you prefer yourself this like a little bit more like extreme horror, more splatterpunk horror, more like I don't know what you call it, but like I really love like the Graham Matheson sort of like a like strong story. So you have some horrific elements, but it's not like gore in your face.
Right. I
Like
like storytelling. Personally,
okay,
I just like a well-rounded story. Now, a well-rounded story can have lots of gore, lots of splatter. What I mean?
right,
As long as there's a coherent narratives being told. And I'm sort of lost in this. I like to get lost in the story. I like to sort of just, if I'm reading a thing, I don't like to feel like it's paint by numbers. And I
right.
find that things like, the title splatterpunk and extreme, people tend to just do it. It's more like you're
Go
like
for
a
shock value, yeah.
just go for shock value, but they forget the story. So I'm not impressed with that. However, what I'm doing with the anthology, each one covers a theme. So volume
Mhm.
one was hauntings, it's all paranormal, uh, possessions, etc. Volume two was cryptids. Volume three, serial killers. Volume four now is Eldritch Terror. So each one's got a theme. Now within each of those volumes, you've all different types of stories. That because I
Okay.
don't want rinse and repeat. That's the thing I was very clear about. I don't want the same story told 10 times. So some
Roughly how
have like
long are the
extreme horror,
anthologies? Sorry, how long are
um,
the anthologies roughly?
like 300 pages or so.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're not massive. You know what I mean? They're not bad for a year's work. Not bad. First year's work, but they're roughly
Oh, okay.
yeah. So
Um,
they're decent. I mean, they're a decent read. They're an
what do
easy
you do
read.
as far as like word size and like line spacing and stuff like that?
Um, Single line spacing, Arial 12. I do it all in the the specifications,
Right.
and obviously it's all set up for the paragraph spacing that they're set up for the 5 by 8. That's the 5 by 8
Okay.
format. So that's all set up. So basically, all I ask people to do is not do any funny fonts or funny spacings and that. Just keep it single spacing, and then it just
Okay.
makes it easier for me to transpose across. But then I sort of edit it so it looks the same. That's the thing as well. What people don't understand, part of the editing process is you've got a book, you want people to read it, so you got to make sure it looks. It's not just Kindle. It has to look good in the book.
Right.
You can't have it. I hate like bit of a sentence run off on the next page. I just think that looks terrible. I like
Right.
ideally like a new paragraph for a new page, but the writer isn't going to do that. They don't know how it's all going to fit, and I don't expect them to do that. So, um, if they just keep it simple, then I do the rest.
Yeah, I pretty much try and stick with like 11-point font and like a line and a half for the spacing because I remember like back in the day it used to be like 10-point font and like no spacing. It's like it's so small, like it hurts my
Yeah,
eyes now.
not only
And
out
I know
there
a
on
lot
the
of people
crap
like that.
paper. Yeah, a lot of the like the main publishing houses they do that tiny font, and it's on that crap paper, and it's all squeezed in, and they think more. Just it's all about word count and just cramming in there. And the problem with a lot of the mainstream stuff is if I see New York Times bestseller, if I see any of that kind of stuff, I know I'm just reading exactly the same drivel. It's the same story. It doesn't matter who the
Yeah.
author is. You're just reading the same stuff because that's the way the editors do it.
Right.
So I'm going for pick one of these up. You're on the bus, you're on the train, you're on a commute, have a, you're on you're on holiday, chilling out. It's just a nice, fun read.
Right.
Um, the important thing is the stories, and that each story A is unique. To
Okay.
you're not just getting rinse and repeat for each of them, but also it's within the theme. It's that sort of balance. I want like when you're reading the hauntings, you're part of the one collection with the different stories. So it's sort of striking that. That's the important thing, and the reader enjoys himself. I think if you're nitpicking, and this is what I see a lot of people do when they're just trying to score points and stuff, is the nitpick about this and that and the other. It doesn't matter if the thing's coherent. It's a good story, and people enjoy reading it. That's what matters at the end of the day.
Right. Um, so when's the new anthology, the Electric Horror one? When is that coming out?
It's going to be first week of December, so submissions close 23rd of November. That's the last Sunday of November.
Okay.
So time recording, but about 2.5 weeks.
And
Um,
is it going to be available? Like this is why I say I always go wherever fine books is sold, for my stuff. Is it going to be like on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles?
it's across the board, yeah, because
Okay.
I've got it all set up. I've got my own ISBNs and that, and I've got there's a UK booksellers over here called Waterstones. I've got a trading agreement with them. I've got it in the Barnes and Nobles. So you see any of the previous ones that have come out, they're across the board. I'm not just sticking to one platform.
Okay. I noticed with like Barnes and Nobles and stuff, like it's not real hard to get it as like something you can order digitally. Like they can order like print on demand, but
Mm.
to get it on the shelves is a little bit harder.
It's all about demand. It's if you want to see a book on the shelf, customers need to go and ask for it.
Right, yeah.
That's the thing, and that's one thing we can beg and plead all we want, but it's this is where the customer leads. So if you want to see your independent books, just go and ask for them.
Right,
And it just takes 5 or 6 queries to one
right.
particular store, and then they'll get it in.
Okay. Do you have another volume planned after this? And if so, what's the theme of it?
Mad Science is going to be volume 5.
Mad science?
Mad Science, yep.
So what would that be? Like sort of
So think of
like
Frankenstein,
But
think
yeah,
of Butterfly Effect, think of, anywhere where people go, think of Event Horizon,
like the
for
movie
example,
Weird
you know what I mean?
Science. Did you ever
Hmm?
see that with Kellogg and Brock, the movie Weird Science, where they
Oh
create a
God,
female?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Anything basically where you're trying to discover something and you're doing, you're not thinking of the implications. That's
Okay.
horror is always a warning, isn't it? It's always a don't do that. That's the point of horror stories are, you know, there's a reason there's scientific boundaries. Just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you should. And that's what I want to explore with Volume 5. It's basically um, either the scientists completely lost their moral compass, they're completely over the edge,
Right,
or is it their experiments,
right, right,
away for cruelty? There's so many ways you can interpret. That's what I like about the themes. There's so much room with each of these to have unique stories.
right. There's a long history of like people creating stuff because of scientific curiosity or whatever, and it all goes wrong.
Go
You
back to
know,
Vincent Price and the Tingler. You know what I mean?
oh
One of the
yeah,
earliest.
yeah. um, yeah, I mean, but like even like if you go into like sci-fi a little bit, like with the Terminator, like
Mhm.
all of a sudden the Skynet, and then the whole human race dies. But so yeah, there's a long history of like science gone bad. Kind of rare to see science gone good, although it doesn't make it as compelling a story.
No, but that's once again, that's the whole point of the horror genre.
Right.
The horror genre is when things go wrong.
So is it the anthology going to be open for submissions? And if so, how would people submit to it?
So best way is to be on our mailing list, the
Okay.
Horrific Podcast mailing list. That's where I do the initial shout out for submissions.
Okay.
Obviously, do social media posts as well, but with the newsletter as well, weekly newsletter, it reminds you when it's
Okay.
open, and then obviously I'll let you
And
know like a
what
week
are
before.
you looking for, like word count wise?
Roughly between 3,500 to 5,000 words. I think that's a good uh, sort of good meaty story.
Okay. And tell people like roughly some ideas of what you're looking for.
As if for this one, sorry, kind of jumped on. So for Eldritch Terror, it's anything strange, cosmic horror
Right,
related,
right,
uh, looking into the void, looking into the best and the abyss, looking back. It's that sort of thing. Silly cultists, although we've already covered that. You've your story without giving spoilers.
right.
Covers the silly cultist angle. Where let's summon the demon. Yeah, that's going to work out well. So
Creatures from another world or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, that's it. Don't go poking into the abyss. Don't go poking into the other realms. Something's going to poke back.
like
It's that
like
sort of
the
thing.
void or Event Horizon or something like
Yeah, all
that.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's what I mean. It can be in the past, it could be in the present, it could be in the future, as long
right.
as it's within the theme. And I give a tagline, for each one. Uh, Let me read this out. Sorry, let me bring it up. So the veil is thin between our realm and the void. On the other
Right.
side are things that lurk, always watching and always hungry.
Right.
Some fools think they can reach out and command them. Others
Right.
seek to appeal to their better nature. There are even a number of unfortunate souls that see these entities as a focus of worship. No matter the no matter the reason, humanity was never meant to glimpse into the abyss. For what
right.
stirs back brings only horror. So that's
Right.
that's the theme of it. So I
Well,
think
like
that
Lovecraft says, like the greatest horror is the horror of the unknown.
mm-hmm.
Like that's
So
a
there's
fairly famous Lovecraft quote. But all right, so what are you thinking for the next one? Like the mad science one? Like you said, like Frankenstein. You said like basically like experiments gone wrong, sort of thing.
yeah, obsession. Usually the scientist becomes obsessed. It's
Right.
they want to get this, they want to prove this theory, and they don't care what damage they do.
Right.
Frankenstein's a perfect, the ultimate example of that. He did not care who he hurt or the fact that he was creating life out of nothing, but
Right.
what that life was going to look. He didn't actually care about the entity, the creature. The creature's the victim in it. He didn't
Yeah, I
care.
actually feel bad for Frankenstein's monsters. Like
Yeah.
he was fucking tormented his whole life.
Yeah, so that's that's and just with the narcissism of the scientist, the arrogance, and
Yeah,
yeah, I am the quote again. I have become God.
right.
That's the one from Frankenstein. That just thinking you're better than what you are. So it's down that sort of vein. It can come from the aspect of the subject of one of the experiments. Nothing wrong with that if it's a good story.
Right.
So there's, I mean, there's loads of ways you can go with it. It can be set in the far flung future, like Event Horizon. It could be in the distant past, medieval times. It can be
Right.
current. I, I've no I've no strict rules about that. As long as it's a good story,
Yeah.
and as long as I feel, and I feel it fits in with the theme. And you can't really quantify that until you start getting a few submissions. Once
Okay.
you have about 4 or 5 submissions, then you get an idea of the feel of the anthology, and you know what's going to fit and what's going to stick out.
Okay. And the anthologies you already have out, are they still in print?
Oh yes, absolutely. They're still in print. You can get them both physically and digitally.
Okay. Do you have like a website they could go to and people could grab it?
Um, Basically through our social media. I got rid of our last website and I haven't got around to building a new one yet because it wasn't. I had a website for years and it wasn't really working out, so I got rid of it. And now I think I think after I get this one done, that's going to be 2026. Is focusing on building this all again and going promotion tours. We're starting to attend conventions, so this year has been about building the product base. If that makes
Right.
sense, getting the anthology out there, getting basically the submissions, getting the books put together.
So if they want to look for it, like they put in like Amazon search or like Barnes and Noble search for
Yep, Annie, just search horrific tales,
okay.
horrific publishing, and it'll come up.
Okay.
Go to our web page or go to our social media pages.
Okay.
What I mean? We're all over. You look up the horrific podcast, we'll just pop up immediately.
Am I the only person who did an illustration with the story, or do you have other illustrations and stories as well?
I've had people. I don't know whether I've had one or two people provide illustrations because I
Okay.
do. That's the thing. The theme of the book is and I normally source them myself. But the whole point is that they all start off with an illustration. In all
Right.
these books.
Okay.
I just think it fits with the story. So, I've had one other person provide me with illustrations, but I don't know if he drew them or not. But you're the first person who went, yes, I'm drawing you one. So that's fantastic. Once again, it'll get people right in there. They get the feeling of what the story's about.
Okay. Have you seen Splatterpunk Design? Like
Sorry, what?
it's called Splatterpunk Design. Jack Bantry puts it out. He's in the UK.
No, I'm not familiar with them. No.
Like every issue of Splatterpunk, um,
Mm-hmm.
like every story has a illustration to go with the story, and then usually he has like one story that he thinks is gonna make like the cover illustration, like the most grabbing illustration, and then he'll send that to me usually, and I'll do the illustration.
Oh, cool, cool. Now, I did have illustrations commissioned for our last release there. Oh, sorry, one before the last, because we've actually got our own authors on board now as well. So, suppose give a shout out first of all, Del Gibson. She joined Horrific Publishing, and her first two anthologies are out. But I did this in conjunction with Chris Andrew and Cameron John. Cameron provided the illustrations for Chris's Crazy Theories. It's a segment we have where basically Chris just takes a rant. We do a movie review, and he'll just take one aspect and just come up with a conspiracy theory. So, for example, actually getting them done, for example, our first one, Killer Clown exosuits. And Cameron did all the illustrations that, and each one is basically Chris, in some sort of character fitting in with the story.
Did
So
you
yeah,
see
I've
that
worked with.
movie Killer Clowns?
Oh yeah, that's what I said when we did the review of it. God, that's one of my classics from childhood. Yeah, we did the review. Chris came up with the idea. Oh, they're actually exosuits. The
Yeah.
popcorn the popcorn clowns are actually inside. They grow up with tentacles and actually pilot the suits.
Right.
And like I said, just a bit of fun when you're doing a review and movies. So we ended up making a full publication, a full book out of it. So that was fun. That'll be come out there September.
Okay. Um, are you gonna put out like a whole slew of books, or right now are you just doing the anthologies? Like, what are your plans?
No, that's what I mean. With the anthology, I've also got Dale Gibson and Chris Andrew on as authors. So we're still like there will be volume two. We'll start planning that next year.
Okay.
Dale
Yeah, I'm
is
just
working on
wondering
her
if there's
third
like
anthology, and she's got a biography coming out of Grilla Metropolitana, an indie filmmaker. So we'll be doing that at the end. We're working on that at the moment.
okay, so you're kind of
So
expanding
in
out and
between the
putting out a bunch of
anthologies, there's
stuff.
other projects.
Okay.
What's that? 6 books have released in the space of a year.
Okay.
Not just the horrific tales, but anthologies. But like I said, the other releases too. So yes, I've got
Do
my
you
own
have
as well.
a
I'm working on my own
plan?
anthology as well to get out. So it just keep cracking on.
Do you have a plan for like how many releases you want to put out a year, or is it kind of like somebody hits you up with a good project and go, that should come out?
So I was working on one every 3 months. That was the plan.
Okay.
But for example, I did 3 releases in the last 2 months.
Okay.
So you know what I mean, and that was with Dale and Chris. Having their anthology, their publications as well as horrific tales.
Okay.
So I'm open to the ideas. What I don't want to do is spread myself too thin. You know what I mean, quality over quantity.
Right.
So I had to like step back around about July time because I was stretched too thin because I have to maintain the podcast as well.
Right.
And it's getting a balance between the two. And you don't want one to suffer when you're focusing on the other.
Right.
So it's keeping the whole thing going. And at the end of the day, the podcast is a vehicle to let bring people on board, talk to them, and I'd rather work with people I know, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'd like somebody like initially it was people who had been involved with the narrative fiction segment. So they've already submitted stories, they've already been on the podcast, so they're known, if that makes sense. They're part of
Yeah.
the horrific family.
No, I definitely
But
understand. Like with my anthologies, it's like
mm,
either people that have been on the podcast or people I've met at horror conventions. So they're people I know of. Like I've met them personally, I've interacted with them a little bit, so I kind of get a feel for it.
I think it makes it easier as well because um you know yourself, there's that many shysters out there, and I mean, you've heard the horror stories with publishing houses screwing authors over.
Oh yeah.
And I always made a thing of I do not want to be that person. You know what I mean? My authors get paid, they get credit, they get looked after. End of
Mhm.
story, first and foremost, or else I'm not doing this. So if I've spoken to an author that get they know me, you know what I mean, I'm here, I'm not hiding behind anybody. They can meet me, talk to me. I just think that's a lot easier when you're working with somebody,
Right.
as you have that relationship built up, and it's always, you know what I mean, new people are coming on board all the time. That's the
Yeah.
fantastic thing. I have this thing of every anthology I want at least one new author
Okay.
joining. You know what I mean? Obviously there's no hard rule about how many, but I've got my regular contributors, but I want at least one new author every anthology, so
Right.
that the thing's always getting refreshed.
Okay.
And not everybody wants to write every subgenre.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm going like I've had a few people that don't understand Lovecraftian horror. It's not their thing. So that's fine. You know what I mean? That's fine. And other people didn't want to write about serial killers.
Okay.
That's fine too. Do you know what I mean? That's if it's not your bag, it's not your bag.
Right.
But if you stick with it, there's enough. I'm covering all the subgenres. That's the plan, is to look into all the subgenres of horror. And I've got, like I said, I've got titles for the first 10. I don't want to give them all out because I don't want to jumble people up with the submissions, etc. I want to stay focused on what we're
Right.
doing. But like after the first 10, then I'll start planning the next 10. And it's how long's a piece of string when they come out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure also like people like their preferred specifications. Like I prefer to do serial killers. Or I prefer to do like eldritch horror, or,
Mhm.
cosmic horror, whatever. It's like people have things that they are kind of like their their go to, their thing that they prefer.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I mean. That's so people can still be regular contributors because there's going to be enough um, scope to bring stories in. but you
Right.
don't have to be obligated to contribute to every single one. You know, I mean, I'm not going to think any less of anybody if they're like, oh, sorry, this one I'm out. You know, but that's where you leave spaces open to invite new people in, because then it's always keeping everything refreshed, bringing new faces on board, giving people a chance, the opportunity, hearing new stories. You know, because that's what it's about at the end of the day. And yeah, I'm just hoping to keep on going with that vein. So far, it's been very organic the way it's happened.
Okay.
So I'm lucky in that respect. And if it keeps going the way it's doing, then I'll be very happy.
Okay. Do you have plans to eventually expand to a full publishing house, or just kind of like taking it as it goes? What's the
But
what are
that's
the
it.
future
I'm
plans?
registered. You know what I mean? The company's set up. Horrific Publishing is its own entity. It's
Okay.
a publishing company. Um, Obviously, it's still in its early days. You know, it takes a long time to build up a reputation. It takes a long time to get the word out there. That's what I'm working at the moment. Next year, I've already planned. You know, I mean, I've already signed up for a couple of conventions,
Okay.
so I'm actually going to go out in the road. I think that'll make a heck of a difference
Okay.
with visibility. You know, when you're actually out there and meet people, and people that would never have tuned into the podcast, you
Right.
know, get to see you. So that's next year's plan, is that, you know, start incorporating that aspect of things.
Okay. Are they mostly UK conventions? Or are you going to travel at all?
I'll see. I'll be UK initially
Okay.
because I haven't done it before, so I need to get everything set up. Yeah, I mean, I
Right.
need to get my table, I need to get my decal, I need to get my payment bleepy thing, all that kind of stuff. Um, I basically do a couple and get sort of my head around how it all works,
Okay.
and then work out the travel, because they're, you know, when you have the travel even within the UK, you know, the different cities and that. So
Mhm.
figure that out, figure out what my travel rig looks like, and then I might look at going abroad.
Okay. All right. So you don't have a website. People want to get a hold of you and maybe take a look at yourself. Would it be two different things? Like one would be like your email, and one would be like going on like Amazon or Barnes and Nobles for stuff.
Well, if you're just looking for the books, yeah, go to the bookstores. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Just type in the name of the, you know, horrific tales,
Okay.
and yeah, or just check our social medias. You know what I mean? I do daily posts, you know, of all the different segments we'll have the offer. You know, I've got that all set up so you can every day you'll find out about different aspect of horrific, if that makes sense. You know, I mean, I advertise all the different segments, the different podcasts we do, and the publishing. So each one gets advertised on a regular basis. So just go to any of our social medias,
Okay.
Facebook, X, we're on LinkedIn. If you're on the Slasher app, we're there. You know what I mean? We're everywhere. YouTube is the main one. Come on to the YouTube channel and check out the community tab. You know what I mean? It's all there.
Yeah, I don't find out for some reason I don't find that LinkedIn does a lot for me. It's like some people love it. I just don't find it does a lot.
I'm just there because it's there. You know, it still has to be the post.
It's another
I
way
don't
to get
know.
out. Yeah.
It's a chance to me. I'm using it as a chance to maybe meet other industry professionals,
Right.
especially when it comes to, you know, I'm looking for distributors. So that'll be the next plan. Yeah, it's okay using print and demand from the various companies, but the next stage will be, especially going to conventions and so forth, will be in-house printing or distribution. So that's where you're going to meet those sort of people.
Right.
So that's what it's there for. But once again, it's all about, at the moment, it's just building the brand.
Okay.
It's just keeping every time one of these comes out, there's another little brick at the wall, you know, getting built. They're a bit of a
But
foundation.
if there's the opportunity, are you eventually going to expand to like a full publishing house with like a number of like authors and a website and all that sort of stuff?
Oh yeah, that's the plan. Like I said, I've two authors at the moment who've signed on.
Okay.
So I mean, I've already started making the first year, not just the anthologies, but I've got two signed authors,
Okay.
Dale Gibson and Chris Andre. So that's fantastic, you know. And once again, that happened organically.
Okay. And if people want to send you stuff and get a hold of you, do you have like an email that you want to throw out?
Yeah, just the horrific podcast at gmail.com.
Okay.
That'd be the best one. Yeah. In fact, like I said, I'm sort of waiting to about January time because, like I said, I have too much on at the moment. Because I need to plan out the website, think how it's going to look, how it's going to be interactive, and then I'll do
Okay.
the proper, with that, the associated email addresses, because I think that's the next stage, especially getting ready to head out for conventions.
Yeah. Do
Um,
you kind of get overwhelmed like people go in spurts and they send you a whole bunch of stuff and you're like, oh, I gotta respond to all this all at once?
yeah, at times it does. It's like it's either feast or famine. Everybody comes out. You've like about 10 emails, or you've none, and it's like, oh right, okay.
Right,
Uh,
right. All right. So final questions. So do you like have to edit everything yourself? When you put it out? Like do you find like that's like a big chunk of your time? Like when I put out
yeah,
anthologies, I edit every single story myself, and I find that it takes quite a while. I also illustrate every story, so I'm sure that's additional time added. But just the editing is a while.
yeah, because that's like I said, you got to go through it. Just sometimes the flow of the story, like if people submit, sometimes maybe the first time, or it's easy to you can't see the wood for the trees if you've been doing the same story and you're just your head's in it. I can understand. So it's yeah, I
Right,
go through edit it. My thing is as well, like I said, I'm thinking about how it looks on the book,
right,
the printed book, because I'm still a believer in printed media.
right.
So I'm looking
Well,
at how
so
it
am I.
looks.
So am I. Yeah.
Yeah, you can have both. I'm not an either or person, if that makes sense,
Right,
because I still do it for the Kindle as well. Make sure that it's flowing nicely on the Kindle. But yeah, I want to make sure it looks good. So there's the aesthetic aspect of it, of
right,
how it might seem strange thing, or it's difficult to describe, but how a book might be grammatically correct. It might be this, that, and the other. It might follow all the rules, but it might look terrible on a page because it's all jumbled together.
right,
So even like splitting paragraphs up, I do just because I'm thinking about you've got this thing in your hand, you're flicking through it. How does it look?
right.
So little things that I bring into my editing when I'm doing it. But yeah, I edit everything. It's uh that's the bit that takes the longest.
I find out usually when people contribute to my anthologies, like I'll do an edit, but I also track all the changes. So then I'll send to them. So if there's anything changed, like they can see the original, the change, and then I'll have to make a comment, say, "Hey, this is what I thought. What do you think?" And I'll let them get back to me on whether they accept the changes, whether they have a difference of opinion, whatever's going on. How do you approach it?
Well, basically it's my book. I have the final say. I know it sounds harsh. I keep the original manuscript as a sent, and then I added a copy of it,
Right.
before I put it into the book. Um, I want the discussion. I've had that, but I've also had a couple of people being really pushy and demanding how their story is going to look in my book. And after that, I'm like, nah, I don't do that. You know, there's a way to go about things,
Yeah.
and
Well,
I'm
I
not
mean,
going to
fortunately,
be.
I haven't had that because everyone's like, maybe I lucked out. Just everyone's like, they've been pretty cool.
It's just down to people at the end of the day. Every time you interact with people, you roll the dice, don't you?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just the way it is. But I'm not going to be dictated to
Right, right.
about how the final thing looks in the book. At the end
Well,
of the
so
day,
it's a lot of your time, it's your money.
yep,
It's like you're investing a lot into it.
that's it. You know what I mean? It's not just I'm not just paying the authors. We also get a copy of the book as well, a printed
Right,
copy. Um, I got to pay for when you register with the library over here. If you're a publishing house, you have to send copies to the British Library and the archive libraries as well. So like there's 6 copies go out
right.
just for the libraries as a requirement by law. Various things like that. Got to try and send copies out. The reviewers got to advertise the thing. And that's a lot of money before you start getting it back.
So is UK law that a certain number has to go out to the libraries?
Yeah, so one copy has to go to the British Library, and then one has to go to the legal deposit libraries, which covers England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland,
We
and the Isle of
don't do
Man.
that in the US. Yeah. Like I have my books in libraries, but only because I've gone to the libraries and physically brought them there.
Mm-hmm. You can do that too, but there is a requirement. It's for Aussie archiving purposes, and posterity. But yeah, if you publish, you have to submit copies to the British Library.
Okay, that's
I don't mind.
actually
Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day,
no, that's kind of cool. They like you're
it's out.
making it
You know what I mean?
available to
There's a
everybody.
piece of
Yeah.
recorded history. I mean, you produce something, it's there, it's kept, won't get lost. I wish they would do it. I think I've talked about this before. I wish they would do it in film.
Okay.
I wish there was an archive in, each country. If a film's produced in that country,
Right.
they should have some sort of archiving, you know. Says, and in terms of cost, it's not, I mean, it's warehouse cost. It's, just having the right environment. But if you think about what's been lost over the years, because there isn't that, you think of films that we never see again, maybe books that we never read, that they go through a print and you never
Right.
hear from it again.
Yeah.
You know, so much history, has been lost and
And I feel
we'll
like there's
never
like
we'll
a
never get
bunch of
back.
good stuff that people just missed out on, and now they don't have the opportunity to see it.
Yep. You look when you go back to I was used 1986 as an example. That year was the ultimate year for movies, not just horror movies, but just movies. Everything came out that year.
Right.
And every time you go back, there's always a hidden gem in that year for some
Right.
reason. Oh, we didn't realize that. It's a very, very strange thing. But if you don't have the setup to archive the stuff or reproduce it, um, it's lost forever.
Right.
So I mean, I don't see it as a hassle. I don't see it as an imposition being asked to send a copy to the library because that means it's there.
Right.
I mean, there's I've taken part in producing a bit of history. It might
Right.
might sound hyperbolic or arrogant, but I've contributed. Do you know what I mean? There's something that's been a thought, it's been put together, it's manifested, and now it's going to be preserved.
Right. No, it's good that there's a record, and there's always stuff that's like not really it doesn't really come across right now, but like 30 years later, people are like, dude, that's a masterpiece.
Yeah, and
Like
that's
there are
I mean that
tons of
could
movies
happen.
like that. Like they didn't really hit when they came out, but like 30 years later, they're like a cult favorite.
There's one we covered there, Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
But there for Halloween, watch party. But that movie basically bombed when it came out.
Right.
People didn't get it.
Same with a lot of like classics, like Blade Runner
Mm-hmm.
was not accepted when it first came out. Like people were just like, yeah, but now it's a cult classic.
Yeah, so that's there's always that opportunity, and why not? You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
said, if you've that's why I don't worry about trends and fads because they fade. I'm in this for the long
Or
game.
I just saw another one. John Carpenter's The Thing. When they get like everyone's like it's a masterpiece now, but when it came out, it was totally overlooked.
Yeah, and that's what happens. You know what I mean? It's the nature of the beast.
Right. So, all right. We'll end on this. Do you have anything you want to shout out? Like people should check out movies or books or whatever. Like something that really impressed you recently.
Good boy. I really enjoyed that one. I watched that somebody was cutting onions when I was watching that movie and you're having bloody tears.
Okay.
That was a really good movie. I was an indie production as well. I think the director spent 2 years making that film
Okay.
with his own dog.
All right.
But yeah,
Do you have any books or like comic books or like something magazines, something like that, like printed words?
myself, yeah, I have a couple out there. I've got the Ringmaster's interview, Tales of Horror, Madness, and Surviving the
Okay.
Herd.
Okay. All right, man. Well, thank you very much for being on the podcast again. And
Oh,
everyone should buy your anthology when it comes out.
absolutely. And look forward to having you on our celebration stream when it's time.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.